All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the 700 Pelham Road podcast. And it has been a while, but we are finally
Yeah.
back. We, oh man, work schedules really suck when they start to take all of our time, but we are back and back in full force for another great episode. Um, and I'll be honest, this episode is going to say CUSA tournament preview. I don't know how long this conversation is going to last because the teams have been struggling a little bit as of late.
Yeah. Obviously, if most people have been following the men's team, they know I think we had like 2 total people return from last year's team. So, there was expected to be a lot of rough play as far as, season long goes, just because, chemistry, some of these guys are transferring in, so they didn't necessarily have, the chemistry and the time together that some of these other teams in CUSA have had. So it's one of those where you never want to count them out because Coach Harper has been known to do some crazy things come tournament time and pull some stuff out of a playbook that he never used all season. So you never know. We can make a crazy run. I remember that first March Madness we went to. We weren't supposed to win the tournament. And then we did it out of nowhere. Legitimately, nobody was expecting that to happen. And even the second dance we went to, where we technically didn't win the tournament, even then, we weren't supposed to win the regular season. We shouldn't have even, been that close. And with this conference being the way it is and how we've played some of these top teams, it very well, the dominoes could fall our way. When it comes to college basketball, it really just comes down to, can you make it when you're a mid-major, at least in these smaller conferences, can you make it to your conference tournament? And then from there, it's game by game. Your record is 0-0 after every game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the beauty of, you look at our past with Coach Harper, you mentioned it. We've gone into, since I've been at school, we've won a tournament and made it. And like you mentioned, we didn't win a tournament and made it. Who cares? Cry, Bellarmine, I don't care. But that first tournament, you're right. I mean, we were the 5 seed. Bellarmine can cry. I don't really care. We were the 5 seed that first year. I think it was 2017, and then just went nutty for 3 days, and that's really all it takes. It's just getting hot. Now, with that being said, we've been trending in the wrong direction for the last couple weeks. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I looked at the standings, and we were a game out of second place. We are now in second to last place.
Yeah.
So, you crunch the numbers. We're not trending in the right direction. And you always look at teams that are finishing the regular season really hot. You look at teams that are making their shots, playing good defense, really rounding into form, going into tournament time. I'm a homer. I'm always going to ride for my boys. I'm always going to pick the Gamecocks in every matchup. But I also can't lie. We ain't trending in the right direction. So I'm not going to get my hopes up, when we get into Huntsville. I'm going to allow myself to be pleasantly surprised if we were to go on a run. At this point, I just want to see a little bit of, I just want to see, some more fight. And it's not that they aren't fighting, they aren't playing hard. I just want to see, that classic Ray Harper grind that we've seen in the postseason time after time when they beat someone they're not supposed to. So.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that a lot of these games are missing is like when you come down to the wire, where's that like trademark Ray Harper grit that a lot of the Gamecock teams have had. And like I said, a lot of that may be due to the fact that it is such a new team and it is like it's very new, very fresh. So it may just be a matter of they haven't had enough time in the system. But hey, any given game, we'll see what can happen. Because if there's one person I trust on the hard court, it's Ray Harper.
Yep.
That man has proven time and time again that you can trust him to make something out of nothing.
Absolutely. He's one of those coaches that I think really thrives as the underdog. And maybe, it's the fact that he's really, he's bought in, he's accepted, what the general outlook from the outside is about JSU basketball. And that is that we are never, we're not going to be the favorites in the conference until we prove that, we belong. It took us years in the OVC to prove that we were a staying power. We weren't in the ASUN long enough to prove that, but we played pretty well. And it really, the biggest issue is going to be, you mentioned it. We have 2 returning players, and only one of them was a rotation player last year. Our 2 best players, Mason Nicholson and Kai Tandy, are transfers. So, like you said, I'm looking to that Ray Harper grit that we are so used to in the postseason. Am I expecting for us to go on a run? No, but we're going to give someone in the top of the standings a lot of hell in that first round. Even if we don't win, we're going to make their lives tough, and we're going to force them to play their best basketball. So,
yeah, it's truly just a wait and see. I do hate that this season is kind of going the way it is going, because initially I'd planned on taking some time off of work. I know you had too, and going up there and catching a game or two, and just hanging out in Huntsville. But the way things are going, it seems like it would be a very quick trip.
Very possible, yeah.
So, it is what it is. Maybe next year when I have a little bit more time and a little bit more money, I'll go just for the hell of it, and stay the whole time regardless. But I don't have the time or the money right now, and we both know you don't have the time or the money because you got some important stuff coming up.
Yeah, man. I'm going to tell you now, for those of you watching, I get married in like 40 days. And from April 6th until May 3rd, I will not be available. I'm literally either getting married on my honeymoon or at a conference for a month. So it's going to be a grot Tim getting ready for that. But yeah, you're not kidding. I don't have the time or the money. But with that being said, there's always next year. There's always next year.
And I will say this: should Ray Harper pull the rabbit out of the hat, and we make it into March basketball, if we make it into the big dance, I will do whatever I have to do, as long as it is within driving distance. Your boy will be there.
We have already proven that we will drive wherever it takes to see the Gamecocks. We've been to South Carolina. We've gone to New Orleans. We're going to Louisville in September.
Yeah, and I went to where was the last one? Not Charleston.
It was Greenville. Yeah.
I went to Greenville for the last one. So like, as long as it is within a reasonable driving distance, I will say a 6-hour radius, because that's about where South Carolina was. That's about where New Orleans was. So we'll put it within a 6-hour radius. If it's somewhere in there, I will do my darndest to make sure I'm there. Other than that, if they don't make it, oh well. I'm just gonna watch them. I might, if Birmingham is hosting some games, I may just go if there's some good matchups, since that's right down the road. But other than that, I will be enjoying it on my couch.
I was going to say my lovely 58-inch Walmart TV is going to do wonders this year. But
Yeah.
We also got to talk about the women's team because there are two sides to the basketball coin. And believe it or not, the women have a chance to finish higher in the standings than the men this year. And the women have struggled, but they are a half game out of fourth place.
Whew.
They are a half game behind Louisiana Tech and tied for fifth with Western Kentucky and UTEP. So if the cards fall the right way this week, we're going to have the women will be in the top half of the bracket in Huntsville.
And you want to talk about grit and grind, Coach Petrie? That dude is. I don't know if y'all have ever been to a JSU women's game or just have watched one. When it comes to women's coaches and like the passion and the intensity and, just the drive to win, to excel, to be great, Coach Petrie is up there.
One of one.
May not be a household name at all. But that dude, he will always make a women's basketball game interesting.
He is. You said it best. He might be the most passionate mid-major women's coach in the country. Like you said, if you've been to a game, you know what we're talking about. And the next women's game I go to, I'm going to have a pitch counter, and every time he stomps on the court, I'm going to punch it.
Dog, whenever the Pete goes dead silent and you just hear that man stomping like 6 or 7 times in a row, and It's powerful too, y'all. Like for most people, they would probably have like a bruised foot afterwards. He probably does, or some people would probably like sprain their ankle or something. This dude is absolutely stomping in like dress shoes because he's always like dressed up.
Oh yeah,
he's one of those coaches. He's always wearing a suit. This dude is stomping in like dress shoes, and it's loud, bro. Everybody in the stadium can hear it.
Yeah, he comes up to every game full suit and penny loafers, and he's just about putting a dent in the hardwood. I'll tell you what, you get them into tournament play, and I mean we've seen it many times in Evansville. The women are not out of it, and if there's one thing that the women feed off of more than I think any program, men's or women's in the country, the women feed off of fan support and they feed off of hardcore.
Oh yeah,
that's always been a standard. Since I was in hardcore, I think starting in 2018, the women, they're more up and down than the men, but their ups, you can really feel the crowd behind them when they're up. So,
yeah, the women is that's one of those where when it comes tourney time, and this is where it being in Huntsville is a huge advantage. Hardcore will be able to easily travel. A lot of our fans will be able to easily travel, and we could potentially outnumber some of these fans of the other teams that we're playing. And for the women, like you said, that's huge. For those of y'all that have gone to home games, especially after wins, the women will always come over to hardcore and the student section over there, and they will genuinely like make sure that everybody over there is like knows that they're appreciated, because the women absolutely love every single bit, all the rowdiness, all the support, the tunes, all of it. They feed so much. They feed off of it so much. So that's one of those where it being in Huntsville compared to, ASUN last year where it was campus site. And then, and the OVC where it was Evansville and our fans couldn't necessarily get there as easily. I think that definitely plays into our favor for the women, just because who knows if some of these other schools are going to pay for their pep bands to go. Who knows if there's going to be any sort of fan buses organized there, if it's just mainly going to be players' parents. So the women have a great chance. And like we said, with Coach Petrie and the way he is and the way he, feeds into that team, they could easily go on a run. And we haven't seen our women go to the big dance yet. So, I mean, any year is a great year.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And obviously, like, we mentioned earlier, I am basically unavailable to go to any postseason events. But the minute that I'm available, whether it be next year or whatever, and this women's team makes it to the tournament, I am on the first flight to the tournament site.
Oh yeah, if the women ever make the tournament, if it takes a flight, I'm going, because that's one of those where like that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
Because our women have always been in tough positions as far as the teams in our conferences go.
Yep.
So if they were finally, able to, push through and get there, I'm book my flight, book my hotel room. I don't care if we get blown out in the first round. I don't care if it's a first four in game. I'm there. I'm getting rowdy. I'm going crazy.
Absolutely, man. It would be absolutely insane. Well, now that it's spring, we've got baseball and we've got softball. And if there's one thing that Jacksonville State will always be good at, it is baseball and softball.
Diamond Sports, baby.
The Diamond Sports at JSU, for better or for worse, are realistically the number 2 and 3 programs year in and year out at JSU. I mean,
yeah,
when basketball has a down year, we go right next door to Jim Case Field, and it seems like they're winning every series they play at this point. I pull up the record because I really haven't had a chance to pay attention to them as much this year as I would have liked.
So I haven't really paid attention after the first series. I know we won the first series 2-1. That first game went 13 innings, and it was almost a 3-hour long game against Memphis. And we came out, won 6-5 with a walk-off. I think we lost on Saturday, and then go back on Sunday. It's another extra inning game, another walk-off win, which I believe may have been a walk-off grand slam for that game. Let me check. Yeah, it was a walk-off grand slam in the bottom of the 10th. So that was, a great way to end that first series. Looks like they've kind of hit some rocky patches. Lost at Sanford. Lost 2 of 3 at South. Lost at I'm not going to say the name.
We don't have to talk about that one.
And then lost 2 of 3 at home versus Kent State. So a little bit of a rocky start, but I mean it's out of conference play with a new head coach. We lost a lot of guys that transferred out or graduated, guys that were like linchpins of that team. So it's kind of another men's basketball situation where there's a lot of change on top of adding in a new coach. So it's a rocky start, but this is out of conference play, kind of getting our feet up under us, and just a tune up for what is to come when we hit conference play.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you look at the schedule. We've played Memphis, we've played South, we've played Kent State. We go to Alabama on Tuesday, right? We've played a lot of really good teams. And it's kind of like in basketball when you're, either a mid-major or like a low-level Power 5 program, you're going to load up your non-conference schedule as much as you can to get experience for late in the year. And I know we've seen it many times being in school. It always seems like we get towards time for a conference tournament and the baseball team is killing it. And they're in the running for an at-large bid, or to win the tournament and get an AQ bid. So I still have faith. I'm not gonna give up on this team yet because, like you said, we're still in non-conference play. We haven't even gotten to the conference schedule. I want to see Coach Beazer try to put this team together in year one because, like you said, we've got a lot of roster turnover with Coach Case leaving. I mean, his name is on the stadium that he coached in actively. So there are only a handful of coaches you can say they've coached in a stadium named after them. He's one of them. So that just kind of tells you who we're losing as a coach. But I still have faith. We got 3 months until the postseason gets here. So it is what it is. Looking at softball, they've struggled too, but you look at the teams they've played. They opened up against Virginia. They played 2 games against South Carolina. They played UNC Greensboro twice. They played Ball State. They played Murray State. They played UNA. They played UTC, Southern Miss, Samford, Belmont. They had a game against Alabama that got postponed. I mean, they've played a lot of really, really good teams. And they're 7-12, but you know what? They lost to all good teams, and I think they've played or had a game postponed against but was scheduled 3 ranked teams. I mean, it's the same story as baseball. You load up that non-conference slate to kind of build up your battle scars before you get to conference play. So again, I have zero lack of faith in Coach McGinnis. She's a living legend, one of the winningest softball coaches in the country. Again, her name is on the stadium that she's coaching in.
Not to mention the stadium. The stadium is on the street named after her. So
yeah, it's literally McGinnis. I think McGinnis Boulevard. So again, I have zero lack of faith that this time in April, the softball team has a winning record, top half of the standings in Conference USA, and is ready to go. I have absolutely zero lack of faith in that.
Yeah. Diamond Sports, I'm never really worried. With it being our first season in CUSA, we'll see how we stack up against some of, a little bit tougher competition. Not too much tougher, not anything super crazy. But we'll see. I always have faith in Diamond Sports. I'm never super worried. Yeah. There have been some times in both sports where we've been looking at, almost pulling off some big upsets in a super regional. So, we'll check back in on the Diamond Sports in about a month, see how we're doing then. I think we'll have a much better idea in a month, maybe a month and a half of, what we're looking at going into the tournaments for both sports.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. With it being spring, there's not much more to talk about. We know that spring football has just started. And
I don't know if we got to talk about the schedule on our last episode. I don't know if we had it because CUSA was one of the last conferences to drop.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to talk about the schedule yet. Let's do it. It released and we got some fun dates in there.
Oh yeah. So as far as the home games, coming to the new Burgess Snowfield yet again.
Finally.
That montage will actually be correct again. We got Coastal Carolina on August 31st. We got Southern Miss coming to town on the 21st night of September. We got New Mexico State coming into town October 9th. We got Middle Tennessee coming into town. New Mexico State is our first midweek game. That's a Wednesday. We got Middle Tennessee coming to town Wednesday, October 23rd. Those are our only 2 home games for weekday CUSA. And then we have FIU November 16th, which is also Southerners Reunion. And then we have Sam Houston coming to town November 23rd. So, we got some pretty fun home games in there. I am definitely looking forward to kicking off the season against Coastal. Hopefully try and get some revenge. Obviously, both teams are going to look completely different, especially with who's under center. But I'm really looking forward to that game, seeing Coastal come into town. FIU, just because that's Southerners reunion, that's always a fun weekend for us, and anybody else that was in Southerners. And then Sam Houston, the Gravy Bowl.
I don't want to hear it.
Not, but I always love playing against Sam Houston. This will be, I think, only the fourth time we've played them since I was a JSU fan. They got us in 2014. We got our get back in 2015. And then obviously we beat them last year. It took us a lot more than it should have.
Yeah.
And then they're coming to town this year. And with it being the last home game, I'm assuming that's going to be senior day. So we should have a pretty big crowd for that game.
Absolutely, man. We look at I look at the full slate, and it's funny. We did that podcast last year before we even started 700 Pelham Road, and we both kind of landed around 6-6, and because we just had no idea what to expect from the conference. And I look at the schedule now, and I'm like, I see 10 wins on the schedule this year. I mean, I really do. Our toughest games, we have to go to Louisville, and we have to go to Liberty.
Yeah.
But you look at our home slate, we got Coastal. I really like our chances against Coastal this year, assuming the quarterback play is better. Eastern Michigan, I want to see how we travel, but I like our chances. Southern Miss, I like our chances. Kennesaw, I really like our chances. New Mexico State and MTSU, those are home games in October. We got those in the bag. We got two. Louisiana Tech could be interesting because that's been a tough place to play for a lot of teams in the conference. But I mean, we close out with again 3 teams. We close out with 4 teams that we beat last year.
Yeah.
2 of them being at home. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and disrespect conference opponents because I know that realistically, we could be staring at 5-7 just as easily as we could 10-2. But I mean, I see 10, even really 11 winnable games on the schedule next year. If we go up to Liberty and play well.
At this point, I'm just waiting to see where I need to book my hotel room come December.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, not to be cocky, no pun intended. We're going bowling.
Yeah, I mean, we have. I'm looking at the schedule. We have 0 FCS opponents on schedule, which means that even if we had one, every game counts towards our win record when it comes to bowls. So all we need is 6-6. I feel pretty confident we can get 6-6.
And a key point to that no FCS team, dare I say, in a hypothetical world where we handle all of our business and we go 12-0 and we win all 12 games convincingly, there will be conversations to be had by the committee. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I don't want to say I don't want to say, lock it in, whatever. I'm not saying all that. But in a hypothetical world where we do go 12-0 and we win all of our games convincingly and we handle business from August 31st to November 30th, and then we win the conference championship, depending on how, the SMUs of the world, the App States, the James Madisons, the Troys, depending on how all of them play out, there will be a conversation to be had. And all I'm going to say right now.
Well, no, yeah, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
Last thing, all I'm going to say is if Rich Rod goes from being the first coach to win a bowl game in your first year as an with the school in their first year at FBS, and then the very next year the first season of full eligibility takes us to a playoff game, GOAT. That's it. Put his name on the field. Put his name on the field. That's it. I don't care if he's only been here 4 years. If he gets us to a playoff game at all, put his name on the field.
Yeah. Look, I will say this, and if any JMU fans or Troy fans or South fans or App State fans or any of y'all are in our mention saying that we're stupid, I just want to say this right now. With our strength of schedule, having to go to Louisville, to Liberty, if we are 13-0 with a win at Louisville and a win at Liberty, it's going to be really, really hard to keep us out of the playoff. Now, again,
especially with the Louisville game. Like if people want to knock down Liberty, that's whatever. But going to Louisville, maybe they're not the Louisville of old, with Lamar Jackson and, all of those names, but they're still a pretty respectable school. Yeah. So if we were to go in there and let's say throwing a hypothetical win by 10 or 14, by 2 possessions, a touchdown and a field goal, I think that's big enough with going 13-0 and assuming, like I said, and again, this is all hypothetical for all of you fans of other teams. We're not saying it's going to happen.
Yeah.
If we were to go 13-0 and win all of our games handily and take care of business, no ifs, ands, or buts, and there was no questions about it. It wasn't like we won in overtime versus FIU. If we take care of business, win all of our games, go 13-0, beat Louisville by 10 or 14, conversations will be had. End of story. At the very least, we'd be looking at a really, really solid bowl game.
I'll say this. If we go 13-0 and don't make the playoff, I guarantee you we're in a New Year's Six bowl.
With the way the playoffs are set up, is there New Year's Six bowls for non-playoff teams?
Well, let me look because that's a good point with the new 12 team. Let's see here.
Which they want to make 14. All the wrinkles with the 14 team, I don't know if you saw, but some of the wrinkles with the 14 team playoff would be, of course, the Power 4 conferences get an automatic bid. Apparently, though, there was some concept where the SEC and the Big Ten all got 3 automatic spots. The Big 12 and the ACC got 2 automatic spots. And then there was only like 1 left for Power 5, and then Notre Dame gets an automatic spot if they're in the top 14. It's weird. I don't like the idea of how they're doing the concept of the 14-team playoff. I think it should stay at 12 for a couple of years for us to figure out, if this will work.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. The 14 team is weird because it does weight the conference you play in, which I think is stupid. I still think it needs to be just the 14 best teams.
Just straight up.
But I think and with 12, I think it needs to be 12 straight up. Even if a group of 5 team weren't to get in, if there's not a group of 5 team that's one of the 12 best, so be it. A lot of times there will be because you'll have a James Madison or an App State or a Boise State that has a great year. But, all right, I've looked up the format. So, obviously, 5 through 12 play the first rounders at home. Mm-hmm. 5 through 8 get the home games. Unless they choose a neutral venue, which if we were in that situation, obviously we would. Because there's no way we're hosting a playoff game at Burgess Snowfield. But you were right. So the semifinals and quarterfinals are all New Year's Six. So there are no New Year's Six bowls outside of playoff anymore. Which I kind of like. It raises the stakes for those games and keeps players from opting out. Because now they're playing for a national championship in them instead of saying, "Oh, sorry, you didn't make it. Here's your consolation." But yeah, so still, like you said, we'll be looking at a really good bowl game even if we don't get in. Like I said, I see 10 wins right now if we are as good as we were last year. I think, like you said, we're gonna have a new quarterback with Zion. No longer here. We've got Logan Smothers.
We've got another Zion though.
Yeah, we got Zion Turner, who watching his highlights, he can throw some dots. I'd say that we have Tayshaun Smoot, but I don't even know if he's going to be on rosters. So, but
we got Smothers coming back. We got Fry.
Yep. Look, it's going to be a fun season to watch. Obviously, I mean, it is March 5th when we're recording this. Football season doesn't start for another, 8.5 months. No, not 8.5 months. It's 5.5 months. I don't know where I got that. I was thinking month 8 of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And 8 came out. So, yeah, in another 5.5 months, football season starts. We just started spring practice, I think, Wednesday, either Wednesday or Thursday. And J-Day is April 20th, I think. I
am not sure off the top of my head.
If
it's April 20th, if it's April 20th, what a date.
Bless up.
Hey, but you know will be even more fun than waiting to watch college football? Getting to play college football. Because for the first time ever, I can crank up the PlayStation and not have to use Team Builder and just get to scroll down to the Jays and pick Jacksonville State. First time ever.
I'm going to make a bold assumption that Rich Rod is going to look at all 85 scholarship players and hold a gun to their head until they opt in.
Well, so
there's no reason why JSU players wouldn't opt in.
I think there's only like 1,000 players left that haven't officially opted in, or they said 10,000 plus. So it's less than 1,000 players left that haven't, signed the paper yet. If you're at Jacksonville State and nobody knows your name and you don't sign that paper for $600 and a copy of the game, I am driving to the middle of nowhere, Jacksonville, Alabama, pulling you out of your apartment and slapping you across the face.
There will be a crime committed.
Because most of y'all don't have an NIL deal. Cooter Browns is not handing out money. Jefferson's is not handing out money. Like
the car wash ain't handing out money. So.
Like I'm sorry, most of y'all don't have an NIL deal. Yeah, it's only take the money. Take the $600. Take the copy of the game. Take the copy of the game and the $600, and pop it in, and you get to play as yourself.
Literally, just today the only player we've heard of who has decided not to opt in is Arch Manning. Now, I'm gonna be 100% solid. He ain't even gonna be the best quarterback on Texas in the game.
No,
I'm not too worried about it. But we don't have an Arch Manning on roster. We don't have a guy whose name is big enough to move the needle if they say no. So you might as well just say yes, take the money, go buy some flex, get you some wow, and go play the game.
No, for real.
But you're not wrong. I'm very excited to pop in into the PlayStation, scroll down to the Jays, put Logan Smothers in at QB. And I'll tell you what, I read something on one of the leaks about like the playbooks and stuff, and it was like all 134 teams have a completely different playbook that is perfectly tailored to how they play. So we've got the full Rich Rod spread option offense in the game.
I'm ready to run 140 plays a game. Give it to me.
I was say the play record that we had in the bowl game is done. Week 1.
Oh yeah, especially if I'm playing full 15-minute quarters, 200 plays on the field, over with,
Easily.
done.
Easily. But no, it's
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. What'll really be cool for this game, I don't know if a lot of people know this. Uh, EA actually reached out to, if not all, most of the college bands of the game, of the teams that are in the game, and had them record various tunes that they play throughout the game. Obviously, the fight songs will be in there, and I know the Southerners recorded like 8 or 9 other tunes.
yeah, I think they did
Obviously,
like
it'll be curious to see. I mean, I'll be curious to see like what made the cut. I don't know if what they chose was proactive as far as copyright, or if they have to wait and see if some stuff clears copyright. Um, but I'll be curious to see, what songs are in there from other teams because obviously LSU plays neck,
mhm.
and there's some other songs from other schools that their band is known for playing. So
Yeah,
I'm curious to see just in general. This is the band kid side of me, just being able to pop in the game and know, hey, this is actually from UGA. This is actually the Redcoat Band. This is
yeah,
actually from the Marching Royal Dukes. This is actually from Southerners. It'll be cool.
yeah. I'll tell you what's going to be cracked. Not only if LSU gets neck, but if LSU gets right above it into the game, and they play that between the third and fourth quarter, that'd be nuts. Because I've seen videos of Golden Band from Tigerland playing right above it right before the national championship game against Clemson,
Yeah,
and the Superdome just about fell apart when they played it. It's one of the hypest songs that they play. I'll tell you what, I'll be intrigued, and this is not obviously JSU related, but having played the game for, I mean, I've been playing NCAA since I was like 6. Auburn has never had War Eagle in the game, ever, because it's been copyrighted by the university. So the fight song for Auburn in the game, unless you do a custom sound, has always been Tiger Rag. So I'm actually interested to see if the university finally said, "Sure, EA, take our actual fight song." But hey, no, it's
yeah.
going to be lit.
I mean, they put a lot of effort into this game. I mean, we've seen from a couple of the commentators and announcers that are in the game. They have spent hours on hours on hours, months on months on months, recording the same exact term or the same exact phrase 5 different ways. And, you multiply that by any number of phrases. I can't remember who it was, but one of them was talking about how they even recorded phrases for stuff you wouldn't normally see. Like if you punt on second down, like
yeah,
they EA put so much thought into this game, and from everything I'm seeing, they kind of were proactive in alleviating a lot of the fears that a lot of people had of it just being a Madden reskin. I don't think it's going to be that whatsoever anymore.
no. I was reading even when like it was first announced back in I think it was 2021 when they announced that the game was finally coming back, and they started talking about the development team, and they basically just went out and rehired the entire NCAA 14 development team and said, "Hey, we're going to pair you up with our best graphic designers. Go make the best video game you can." Um, I'll say this because you mentioned the Madden reskin. Look, I'm Madden on itself is not really that bad of a game. It's just the fact that it's been the same game for the last 5 years.
Yep.
However, knowing that it's not going to be a Madden reskin and this is going to be a brand new game that EA puts out, I venture to say this will be EA's top selling football game of all time. I think it has a chance to beat the highest selling Maddens. Now it won't ever sell outsell FIFA ever because FIFA is a global brand.
Yeah,
But
global.
I really think that it has a shot to be the highest selling football game that EA's ever put out.
Oh yeah, it's definitely up there. That being said, coming back from a hiatus and having the hype and having all of this helping you, set yourself up for such an insanely high sales point. Here is where you start looking to the future. Do they release another game every year? Or do they do what a lot of fans have been saying for years on end? If you're not going to change a lot of the intricate parts of the game, do they just have the roster DLC?
Yeah.
That will be very interesting to see going forward because the way college football is set up, especially now that we have the playoffs, now that we have NIL and they can put all of that in the game, there's not many more monumental landmarks that are going to be checked off. So going forward, unless something crazy happens that we don't see right now, do you make a whole nother game or do you just go the DLC route? That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Because, that's been a big issue with Madden has been all they've got to do is release new rosters. And then if there are new uniforms that come out, yeah, you release either a roster pack, a uniform pack, or then you do a new game. Can EA afford to do a game with 11,000 players every year? That's a lot of money that they're having to do when it comes to new players opting in. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. If they do a new game every year and you lose 20% of your players every year, give or take, that's still almost 3,000 players. And for reference, Madden, if we take 53 rostered players times 32 teams, that's 1,696. So even just the players lost on NCAA from year to year is almost twice as many as every player on Madden every year. So that'll be something to look out for. But it's going to, I mean, even if it's not like 10 out of 10, the best game ever, it's still a college football video game, and we haven't had one in now 11 years.
Yeah.
So I'll take whatever I get.
Oh, yeah. I think this game, honestly, just on pre-orders alone and just on the hype alone, the numbers are going to be astronomical. I can't wait to see. Obviously, there are going to be influencers that are going to get copies early. I can't wait to see how the game plays beforehand. I'm still going to buy it regardless. We haven't had college football in too long. I'm going to buy it regardless, even if people say it's not as good as I thought it was going to be. I need to have it in my hand. One, because it's been so long. Two, because JSU is officially going to be in the game. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they said, is it June or July? I know they haven't dropped an exact date, but they told us the month. I can't remember which one.
I think mid-June is the target.
Okay, yeah, June. So we got a couple of months. I gotta go and get me a PS5, which after I move apartments, we already said we're just gonna buy one with our security deposit returned from this apartment. So I got a couple months before I grab one. Of course, I'm gonna try and re-up my GameStop Pro and get a pre-order in, grab some other games while I'm at it, just to hold me over until it drops. But yeah, I mean, I'm ready, and I'm glad it's dropping now that the pandemic is over and the PS5 and the Xbox is not like a precious commodity. You can just walk into a GameStop and walk out with one again, finally. So yeah, that'll be fun. I'm excited. Great development for college football.
Absolutely, man.
Well, the only other thing, our women's bowling team finally, sadly, after a long reign at the top,
Yes.
got knocked back down to runner-up of the tournament. If y'all don't remember way back before we just were taking names, our first tournament we were runners up, and then we won, I believe, 5 in a row. And then the most recent tournament, they finished runner up. Very hard fought game, or hard fought match. They lost in the title match to Arkansas State, which it's been like a back and forth battle between us and Arkansas State all season. I think that's what, those are the two teams it's going to come down to as far as hoisting the trophy at the end of the year. But still, cannot stress this enough. Our women's team has been astronomical. They have been insane, even though they are, pretty much all transfers from coach's last school. They're still just totally killing it, knocking it out of the park. And I'm happy for them that they get to do it at JSU, because I was watching a news clip after their last win. A lot of those women were saying, at McKendree, the students just kind of expected it. It is what it is. The women's team was just kind of, they were good. They won. Yeah. They won again. Woo. Whereas here, they said they walk around, with their Jack State bowling stuff on, whether it be a hoodie or, a shirt or whatever. And, people are always like, hey, you're on the bowling team, this and that. And I'm just glad, the university is embracing it, because it is very, very new. It's an aspect we've never had before. We had to add it because, we boosted scholarships in football moving up to FBS. So we had to add, some women's scholarships. Very interesting choice of a sport to add, but I'm loving it. I can't really bowl super well myself. But I love that we have kind of that niche sport that we're really, really, really good at, and nobody can take that away from us.
Yeah, it's been fun to, have a first year program come in and all of a sudden, without any adjusting period, be arguably the best program in the country. So it's weird, because you pick any other sport and it probably doesn't happen, but you go bowling. I'll be honest, bowling, is it an easy sport? Absolutely not, because if it was, I'd be good at it. But there's a lot of bowling talent out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure the transfer portal for NCAA bowling is a little bit less stringent than it is in football and basketball, because there's probably a lot less eyes on it. So the fact that we're able to get so many good players, coming over with coach, just kind of tells you, that how much faith they had in her. But yeah, it's been fun. Certainly going to be looking forward to postseason play, see how things turn out for them. But hate we had to finally lose a tournament, but hey, things happen.
Yeah. And hey, runner up, if the only non-wins we have on the seasons are runners up, I can't complain.
Yeah.
We're right there.
Yeah, look, that's just how it is sometimes, So
you can't win them all.
Can't win them all. So, all right. Well, I don't think we got really anything else to talk about.
I don't think so.
So, all right. Well, for those of you who have maybe wondered why we haven't recorded in a while, you don't have to worry anymore. Life. But we are back, at least for now, and I'm sure we'll have another episode out at least 2 weeks from now when conference tournament is over. We might have one out next week. Can't confirm, because, again, life, especially in the spring and for me leading up to the wedding, really, really busy right now. But once I get through April, I am free, and we'll be recording episodes. I'm sure in the summer we're going to try to get some big name guests on the podcast. That was kind of our plan from the beginning, was to use the summer to get guests on. So we may try to get some coaches. maybe, a certain athletic director. You never know.
The best athletic director to ever grace the face of the earth.
The GOAT, simply the GOAT. But yeah. All right. Well, from 700 Pelham Road, we are getting ready to sign off, and we will see y'all during the next episode.